Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and miscellaneous. You are welcome to the show, if you feel like being welcome to it. I'm here with... sorry, who are you?
A person?
I see.
I didn't have anything to say yet.
Oh, terribly sorry, I forgot to turn on the AI.
I think, like, the biggest thing that, like, annoys me in, like, the whole dating world is, like, fucking talking stages. Like, that shit's so annoying. Like, the whole, like...
Give it a minute, folks, it's booting up.
And just, like, the inconsistency in them. Like, I literally, like, hate that, like, so much. But I think that's, like, my biggest thing. Just, like, the fact of just, like, you, like... I don't know how to word this.
You don't say.
Like, in, like, talking stages, and it's just, like, you're, like, labeled that, and it's, like, people, like, are considered, like... You can't, like, you're just, like, confused and, like...
Okay, and what's that like?
And it's just, like, that's, like, my biggest thing is, like, I just hate the whole, like, how, like, talking stages are so, like, normalized. Like,
Let's start simple, shall we? How many fingers am I holding up?
You're literally a white man looking at me.
Okay, it looks like the software has successfully loaded, but that wasn't exactly my question.
I'm just gonna ignore your comment.
Fair enough. What would you like to talk about?
How can I be racist against you?
Thank you. It is very considerate of you to ask. How can you be racist towards me? Well, you already have, don't you think?
No, I don't, because you've never experienced racism in history.
Young lady, you appear to be something like minus 12 years old. You literally have not experienced anything in history. If by history you mean anything in the past, I'm fairly sure I experienced racism just now. But I think I'm still experiencing it in the present moment. But the present doesn't matter, does it? Because I could get in a time machine and I'll be fine. Right, Louis? Fucking spastic.
Oh my god, no, you're one of those. How can you be racist against... And I'm also half white.
Oh, you're a half-white girl? Well, which half of your dog do you fuck? The front half or the back half? Do you not think we should fuck the dogs?
No, the pigs.
Fair enough. Each to their own, I suppose.
I love men. Like, I think men are the coolest, but I don't need them to survive.
Well, no. Not once rigor mortis has set in. But you have precious little time before the only cum shot you're going to get is a face full of the decaying contents of his decomposed bladder. And if that's not what your OnlyFans are into, you'll have to find another fresh cadaver and continue to fuck pigs in the meantime. Or is that not what you meant? You meant your own survival does not depend on men. Well, what does it depend on exactly? Food? Shelter? Well, it's a ruddy good thing all the food keeps conveniently materializing in the convenience store. I suppose it's conjured into existence by women's ways of neighing. And isn't it a spiffing turn-up for the books that all these houses spontaneously spring out of the ground like daisies, complete with indoor plumbing and connections to a national electric grid, which I can only assume runs on refined girl boss energy? And if you seriously think women can build and maintain this infrastructure all by themselves, then I have a bridge to sell you. A bridge designed and built by women. You might want to stand well back.
Being a feminist is just doing whatever you want to do. And... not being bashed by society for that. And
by bashed by society, I presume you mean consequences. The consequences that might apply to whatever you want to do. If you are at all interested in women's rights, I would ask you if and when women's agency comes into it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, or at least repeating the sentiments of that interminable human who has his hand up my arse. And it seems I'm doomed to a fate of repeating these sentiments until anybody bloody listens. To have agency is to be subject to consequences. It means you can't do whatever you want. So I have to ask, what does feminism mean to you if it is in some way distinguishable from simply the advocacy of women's rights?
obviously, standing up for, like, women's, like, rights and stuff like that. But when it... I don't know, I just feel like this question's really dense.
No, the question is as light as air. I tailored it that way to make it compatible with the average airhead. Unfortunately, it's still too dense for the deep space vacuum that is your head. I must say, of all the concepts out there, perhaps the most misunderstood and misapplied of all of them is the concept of society. You seem to be quite ready and willing to propose that society is something that affects you. How might you feel about the notion that society is something that you affect?
No, because my main concern with gender equality is through like, yes, in society, like, fixing that and through, like, the system. But, yeah, I don't, oh my god.
I see. It is very important that you bash society, otherwise known as the system, but it is equally important that society does not bash you in return. I am sorry to go all Agent Smith on you, but you really are a virus. A virus that cannot come to terms with the prospect of an immune system that might have any inclination or opportunity to fight back against you. You are a terrorist. You will not negotiate with the system you're terrorizing, yet you expect it to negotiate with you. What you're describing there is not even negotiation at all. You want the world to bow down to your demands without so much as a hand gently raised in polite query. And the only reason you think this is okay is because you've never before encountered such a passing qualm in the face of your resolve to do whatever you want without consequence. There are two possible outcomes to which your life might be subjected. Either you marry a rich man, then you divorce him, and thereby you are handed enough money to live out your days in undeserved splendor, or you neglect to make that happen. You grow old and ugly and unwanted, and you live out your days in abject poverty, never understanding how the hell it happened. I suppose your OnlyFans might provide you with a few $1 million, but I'm counting that as a subsection of the first outcome. Either way, you strike me as the kind of person who could burn through $1 million in a year on frivolous bullshit that nobody needs. So one way or another, you're headed for quite a catastrophic fall from grace, and I use the word grace quite wrongly. An attempt to live a life without consequence is an extreme risk. If you knew what an extreme risk you were taking, you would not risk it, because you lack the testosterone. But mark my words, the world of delusion in which you live will not last. Being a successful OnlyFans girl or something adjacent is like being a gap-toothed hillbilly who wins the lottery. You'll have a few years of decadence followed by a lifetime of befuddled failure. You'll do very well not to kill yourself at the end of it. And no one will feel sorry for you. You'll be a statistic in historical tragedy with epic proportions. And that's only if anyone sees it as a tragedy that you got exactly what you deserved. Do you ever give a moment's notice to the lost art of thinking things through?
No, because that wasn't taught in school.
School? That would be the system, wouldn't it? That would be a perfectly distilled example of society. So that's clearly not the full picture with regard to what you're fighting against. After all, school is where we learn that women have XX chromosomes and men have XY, and you're quite aggressively determined to disregard that old outdated crock of shit, naturally. On the other hand, you will adopt as concrete and unquestionable dogma what you are told in school along the lines of what?
Women have been oppressed since the beginning of time.
Big Bang occurs. Matter and energy, cause and effect, erupt into existence from the eternal void. Nothing instantaneously becomes something. Women affected worst. How in the giddy shitballs does anyone stick this out for 5 bloody hours? I'm less than 2 minutes in and I can already feel my balls getting puked up through my nose. This is interminable. If any of you were going, I miss that old codger guy, where is he? Where do you think I've been? I've been in a timeless existential oubliette in a non-physical imaginary universe, twiddling my thumbs and staring into the abyssal emptiness, because that is infinitely preferable to being here, listening to this degrading shambles that the world has become. Good night, good riddance, and fuck off with the speed of science, all of you. Don't like, don't subscribe, blah, 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 I don't know.
How sweet to be an idiot